sitting in my old 420 local.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
Oh, I caught that, Marcel.
I hope you did.
This is the 420 radio show. We're live on LifestyleRadio.ca. I'm here with my buddy Marcel and Ross, and Chris is here. Laurie will be joining us, as well as our guests, Sandra, Petite, and Rick Vrecic.
Yeah, close enough.
Okay, there you go.
How do you say it, Rick?
Proper way or English way?
The proper way.
Vrecic.
The
Really?
English way.
Vrecic.
We'll call you Rick.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. We are going to be spending the day or the evening chatting about.
Oh, we've got Sandra Petite with us.
Yeah, I'm here. I said that.
I thought you might have missed it because
enter
I was
Laurie.
Hugging Rick.
Laurie's
here.
Yes. So, this was Laurie's idea. Laurie's very involved in this, as is Sandra and Rick. So, I'm going to let Sandra explain to everybody and introduce herself. And then we'll say to Laurie. How's that? Say hi to Laurie.
Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Laurie.
So
I think everybody's stoned.
No, just say hi to Laurie.
All right.
It can work either way.
So, Sandra, please explain to people first who you are and why you're so involved in all of this.
Well, currently I am a patient advocate, and I have been since 2010. I just took on that role to keep on helping patients. But I did work for CALM, Cannabis is Living as Medicine. I had 9 years of admin experience with them, and I've been very involved with the community, different things like the Global Marijuana March and other things like Pride and, of course, 420 at Dundas Square every year. I've been down there every year. So basically, I'm here for the patients to make sure that in the new regulation framework that patients are actually being considered. That's what I would like to do.
And you're also playing a role in what's going on down in Toronto. As we listen to Rick talk to his Uber again.
Yeah.
I apologize, guys.
It's okay. Laurie, can you explain what's going on in Canada right now as far as dispensaries and stuff like that? And then I'll let you three talk and join in when I feel like it. How's that?
Okay. All right. Well, I've personally been using dispensaries for 10 years now. Or started using dispensaries 10 years ago when I was first informed about cannabis as a medicine by my doctor. Shock and awe. He was the first one that told me about it, and I went to the Montreal Compassion Club, and I've known about dispensaries and the different ones in the country. I've been to many in, from Halifax to Toronto. I haven't made it out west, but I guess with what's happening in the country now, and what I call the gray area that everybody refers to, which is really only discretionary enforcement of the laws as they have stood all this time. And what's going on in Vancouver and Victoria and now Toronto with the talk regarding regulating dispensaries. And there's a lot of, I guess, until we spoke to Councillor Jang from Vancouver, I don't know if anybody else was aware that they have two different licensing levels there. One is for what I guess they deem to be a for-profit business, which the $30,000 licensing fee for the year. And we were unaware, or I personally was unaware of the fact that they have another level of licensing for $1,000 a year for those, which I might term compassion clubs, where they are not-for-profits and they turn their money, that their revenues back into the community and education programs and possibly even lower cost for the medicine to the sick people, who knows. And so that was one of the things that prompted me to ask Sandra to join us tonight, to speak to what is a true not-for-profit dispensary model. And I don't know many people that have as many years experience as she does. And the climate in Toronto being as volatile, I guess I'll say, as it is now, it is the most changing and growing climate of dispensaries that there are in the country, that there is in the country at the moment. And I guess now they are saying that they've taken Vancouver over for the number of dispensaries in the city. So I thought it was an opportune time, after we talked to the councillor and what's going on in, as I said, Vancouver, Victoria, and Toronto with regard to regulation. I thought it was a great time to have Sandra on to ask her some questions.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to express, what is going on here. We did attend the city licensing meeting yesterday, and it really was a frustrating effort on all our parts, because the registration to lobby was done at the last minute. People were actually placed on the wrong order, and then they just basically deferred it to June 27th.
They didn't let anybody speak, eh?
No,
that's
they
correct.
didn't.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of angry people there. But I will say this, that we held our own. We kept it responsible. One or two people shouted out, but we basically, for lack of a better word, sucked it up and respectfully moved on. Yeah. But I sense that perhaps what it is that they actually need more time. It's unfortunate that they're taking the route with the letters that they're now issuing to the dispensaries. We're getting reports today on that, in fact. So it's confusing. They're just letters at this point.
They're not even, Sandra, they're not even letters to the actual dispensaries.
They're to the landlords, yes.
It's letters to the landlords. So the city is being very underhanded, sneaky, and going about in a way threatening the landlord's property with forfeiture and seizure if they allow their businesses to continue to operate.
I want to break in for 1 second, if you don't mind.
Yes.
And I want Rick to jump in and just explain who he is, because Rick is on the other side of the wall here, so to speak, representing patients, but he's a dispensary owner as well. So Sandra's here.
I'm a compassion center owner.
Okay.
Sir.
All right. Fair enough.
We are not for profit.
Okay.
We do believe in that model where the money gets pumped back into our center in order to try and keep our prices low.
Okay. And who are you with?
I'm with True Compassion Toronto.
Okay.
We were established in November of 2015 after a period of apprenticeship, so to speak, at another center where I served as a bud tender for 8 years.
Okay, so I mean, the panel is that of people who know what's going on in Canada and Toronto, and I wanted to make sure that I let everybody get what needs to be said, what wants to be said out there. And I'm even going to put our phone number out there for anybody who might want to call in. And I don't know if I'll even be able to do that, but we'll try. So if you do want to call in, unfortunately, we do have a long distance number, but if you use Skype or another means to call, you can give us a call at 1-323-795-2420. We will answer. If we don't get to it, please record a message and we'll play it when we come back from a break. So I want you guys to get into this conversation because I'm very concerned, as well as I should be, as I go to Toronto to go to the compassion clubs and the dispensaries and things like that myself. So,
well, I think it was asked earlier if we could give some details on the concept of a non-profit compassion center. I think Rick's perfect to address that at this point.
Okay, Rick, you want to do that?
Basically, the whole model is, at the end of the day, we need to cover our bills. So, we have to pay our rent, our heat, our hydro, and all of that. We have to pay our employees, give our volunteers a decent salary. And any money that goes on top of that gets pumped right back into the center. Our mission statement and our motto is to provide reasonably priced, dignified access to our patients. And being a patient-serving patients model, every one of the volunteers involved with True Compassion Toronto has already been approved as a member. That means that we all suffer from some ailment that benefits from marijuana use. All of us are doctor confirmed as well.
Yes, and that's exactly the same process that I did with CALM, is that all letters of diagnoses that came in, I consulted with every physician that issued the letter to have a good understanding of how the cannabis would benefit their patient. If I had that kind of confidence with the physician support, I could go ahead and make that person a member of CALM. The only difference between CALM and, say, True Compassion Toronto is that CALM and, I recently actually discovered that all three original dispensaries were for profit. So, I think perhaps in a recreational model they may be better suited, but I think non-profit compassionate use pardon me, I'm losing my train of thought. Non-profit compassion centers are really the way to go because it assists patients, to get safe access, and perhaps in a more discreet way than it would be on a recreational level.
And that is what a lot of our members are looking for, is the discretion and ability to be able to medicate, which they can do at our center as well. Mm-hmm. They can meditate in our testing facilities. A lot of our members are seniors, live in Ontario housing, so to speak, on disability, and they don't have areas where they can smoke inside their own homes.
This is it.
So we try to provide them a dignified, safe space and where they can consume their medicine.
Well, the thing is, there are other clubs similar to yours now existing here in Toronto that do follow standards. And like you, they've gone over and above.
What was that, Rick?
I'm just saying we're not claiming to be the only so-called compassion center.
Oh no, I never. No,
I know there are other centers in Toronto that are run the so-called proper way.
Yes, and I know how the proper way is done, and whether you're profit or non-profit, certainly admission protocols are standard. Certainly, having security should be incorporated into the dispensary. It's very important because you need to know what's coming at you at all angles, and even in a recreational legal market, I mean, a medical dispensary still could be a target. I mean, pharmacies were a target in the United States for OxyContin. So, we need to find a way to keep it discreet, as Rick does, and there is room for many styles, I think, in the non for-profit situation, but I think for patients, that would probably work the best.
And just, let's think about patients over profits.
Exactly. Because, recreational market, you're going to see, they're going to be able to charge whatever they want. They're going to produce their premium buds, and they're going to do all these things. And so, yeah, if you want to pay for it, and you're working, and you're healthy, and you want to just have a little bit of recreational time, go for it. That's medicinal too, in a sense.
No, we are of the opinion that all use is medicinal.
It is.
Yeah, I believe that too.
I think we've just lost Sandra, unfortunately. She'll come back, though.
I think one of the points that I was specifically concerned with myself, like I'm 57 years old, and I've been... I know anybody being older than myself. I don't know if I would be comfortable going somewhere with a big flashing neon cannabis sign in the front window. You know what I mean? I would prefer myself, if I was coming to this new in my 60s, say, I would prefer something more discreet, with more discretion, and not what you would, I guess, consider to be a recreational application where you have the flashing signs and come on in, and I think there is room for a lot of different looks to compassion clubs and dispensaries and so on, and definitely a place for the recreational versus the medicinal. But I think that my biggest concern was to have the conversation about the true not-for-profit models, and that it can mean a benefit to the patients rather than just a storefront outlet for selling cannabis.
It does seem unfortunate that the city seems to be lumping all of the so-called dispensaries, compassion centers, and everything as one, as opposed to looking at their practices, looking at their forms, whatever, and seeing which ones are being run in a proper, dignified manner.
Wow.
And maybe trying to some form of licensing before this underhanded enforcement tactic. It really caught us out of the blue, and I don't understand it when, for months Mr. Ford has been talking about licensing as opposed to enforcement, and now it seems to be they're talking about enforcement before licensing.
Hi guys, I'm back. I'm sorry. Somehow I got disconnected.
That's quite all right. We understand.
Yeah, I guess I was babbling and no one was listening.
No. We were listening, and we did notice you left. And I'm going to break in for 1 sec, and I think we're going to take a quick break because we got a lot of stuff we want to play.
Awesome.
We have a song by from Pink Floyd we're going to listen to a little bit of, On the Turning Away. Thanks to Ross. Ross has provided us with a playlist this evening. We also have an interview that Ross sent me. You want to tell me what that is? We're going to listen to that as well.
Yeah, that's Tracy Cook, I think, the municipal bylaw officer for Toronto. And It's basically a recording of an interview that she gave, I think, to Global News. And I just thought that what she said was interesting, and I think you guys should listen to it, maybe give us your comments on it.
Yeah, if you want to make a comment on anything that we're talking about, please come in the chat room if you don't want to call in. LifestyleRadio.ca, LifestyleRadio.net. Say hi. Marcel's in there. I'm in there. I can't see who else is in there because I'm using
Mr. Glamorous is in there. Hillary's in there. Chrissy's in there. Adam's in there. There's all kinds in here.
The usual. Yep.
Yeah, it's a crowd.
And this is the 420 Radio Show. We're live. And you can catch us on Spreaker. If you got the Spreaker app, you can use our app at LifestyleRadio.net. Just load us up with your cell phone. Take us with you. And we'll be right back with, I don't know, some more conversation.
This is Bubbles from the trailer park, and they're playing some fucking excellent music on LifestyleRadio.ca. I hope I didn't sound too nervous there.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
On the turning away, from the pale and downtrodden, and the words they say which we won't understand. Don't accept that what's happening, it's just a case of other suffering. Oh, you'll find that you're joining in the turning away. It's a sin that somehow light is changing to shadow and casting its shroud over all we have known.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
So we brought an amendment to zoning to address the MMPR when it allowed commercial production in the city or in the country. We know from Health Canada's website there are only 18 licensed producers in the province of Ontario. So if anybody operating with a license properly issued under the federal regulation needed to comply with our zoning bylaw, and they'll be fine. So anybody who's complying with the federal regulation has no issue. The storefront dispensaries, where we are finding they are contravening the zoning bylaw, which if they are not in an industrial area and they are not licensed by the federal government, they are operating in contravention. Those are the ones we're dealing with, right? So we're advising landlords, property owners right now that there is an issue, there is a condition on their property that is operating in contravention to our zoning bylaw, and giving them the opportunity to have that situation remedied. But I think, the other piece to this, and obviously just coming out of this meeting today, I've been asked to have a look at this on a more broad perspective. I know it's a very challenging time. We're caught between a lot of different things happening. But the fact of the matter is the law as it is written today, and it's our responsibility to enforce it appropriately. So there's work to come. I understand a number of people who are involved in the industry or interested in the issue were here earlier today. Unfortunately, just the way the agenda and procedures work, they didn't get an opportunity to speak. But I've got a direction to undertake some work. We will reach out to people and engage them in the conversation, and then have a more fulsome discussion about what comes next at the June 27 Licensing and Standards Committee meeting. But until that time, I expect the law to be upheld.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio. Lifestyle Radio.
Sorry, I did it again, Marcel.
Go for it.
I don't know why Rick has gotten so loud. Oh, yes, I do. Never mind.
Turned him up.
So you guys heard the interview.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
I have an issue with that interview, and the fact that she's saying that the only ones that are going to be allowed to be open are ones that are licensed through the federal government. There are no licensing through the federal government for this.
She's talking about LPs. That's who she's talking about. It's the LPs.
It's come out this week that the LPs have been lobbying the city to shut down dispensaries.
Well, of course they have, because it's cutting into their business.
Mm-hmm. Well, we just know this is where the political will, so to speak, is coming from.
Yeah.
Well, they just formed a lobby group called Cannabis Canada, I think it is.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what it is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, formerly known as the CIA or something.
The CIA?
Yeah,
No,
that was the last three letters.
The Canadian Medical Marijuana Industry Association.
You know, there's so many now. I don't know who to believe, who to listen to. I don't know.
The CMCIA, that's the group that I sat next to the CEO of at the Liberal Senate Forum. Remember, I said I sat next to her and she was complaining to the senator that the licensed producers get surprise inspections every month, and I laughed and told her in 12 years I didn't know a single patient that had an inspection.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had an inspection?
Who?
We've never had an inspection.
Health Canada's never done any inspections.
There's no framework for inspection.
I don't.
No.
Wow.
It was written in the
Under
regulations.
the MMAR there was, but I don't think they ever did one.
No, the MMAR regulations had it that they could inspect, but they never did an inspection because they'd have to hire somebody.
I think they actually did do something like 14 inspections, if I'm not mistaken, and they did have a couple of inspectors, but they only did like 14 in the whole time that it was.
And what were they as a result of a complaint?
Probably, or like I don't see them just being a surprise inspection. In fact, I think that the rule was that they had to give you, 24 hours or 48 hours notice before they did an inspection. Like under the MMAR, that's what the rules.
Any of the patients I knew who had inspections, they weren't actually Health Canada inspectors. They were RCMP officers that showed up to count their plants.
Rick.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of that too.
Rick, have you gotten a letter yet?
We have not received a letter, and as far as we know, our landlord has not received a letter either.
Okay.
I have a list here of letters that have been given to centers. People are reporting in on a page I have.
Oh, let's go through it, please.
Sure. Okay. Hang on. Okay.
Do you have any of the reactions from them as well?
The care center received a letter. Cannabis, Calyx Wellness, Nature's Touch, Weeds Parkdale. See now. GW Weed Euphorium in Scarborough, Vape on the Lake, a vapor lounge. That surprises me. That's a well-run. Well, they're all well-run, but Vape on the Lake. Wow, Queens of Cannabis, and that's a lovely organization. Herbal Canna Bliss and Canna Boss. Someone mentioned Calyx again. Ossington Dispensary. I don't know if there's a thing called Ossington Dispensary. Section 56. It just keeps going on. So everyone's reporting. I have a closed Facebook page called Ontario Dispensary Report.
What was that, Rick?
I believe COM has been confirmed to have received a letter as well.
Okay.
That doesn't surprise me. Then that would mean the TCC and has probably received a similar letter.
I don't know whether
probably won't comment on that, but
let me ask a question, Rick. When a place like yourself gets a letter, what happens? Can you guys explain the
Again, I can't speak to what anybody else does.
Yeah.
I know if we received a letter, the first thing we would do would be to contact our lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I would suggest for all dispensary owners receiving these letters right now.
I would suggest that as well.
Wow. This is really, this has really turned into the front lines now, hasn't it? I mean, everybody's sitting here.
It's a little bit, to be quite honest, as a compassion center owner and stuff like that, I'm very offended by the actions of the city. They have underhandedly gone about and attacked us and then cut away our opportunity to speak at the same time. That in a democracy is unconscionable.
Do you think that they really just need some more time?
No, I think this is a deliberate attempt to clear the deck and open the way for LPs to make their own dispensaries or locations.
Well, it seems like that's already happening. It's already happening. Look at what Tilroy's just done this week.
Yeah, yes, but as of right now, they're not allowed to actually dispense cannabis. They're just information centers.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to advertise either, and they're doing that.
They're not. Well, yes, but then how do you explain the deal with Snoop Dogg?
Exactly.
If that's not advertising, I don't know what is.
Now they got a mobile education bus.
Yes, I've seen that as well.
I still.
But they won't be dispensing any medicine. It's just information.
No. Right.
Oh, really?
And it's advertising, is what it is.
It's advertising. It's not information. Sorry.
It is most definitely advertising.
And they, I believe they have a storefront in Barrie also with Tweeter Bedrow can.
They sure do, and it's huge.
Yeah.
I believe there's about 15 across Ontario.
Wow.
In various cities.
Wow. Is there one in Toronto yet?
Not that I know of, actually.
Okay.
But I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a few.
Wow. That's unreal, man. So where do we go from here on the patient side, Sandra? Where do we go from here?
Well, we're going to collect together, and I guess we're just going to have to come back stronger on June 27th and present our case. I've written to John Tory myself. I don't expect a reply. I've actually invited him to visit Rook Center and to see how things are done properly. And so where do we go from here? I just hope they don't raid. That would be unacceptable. I think if they're actually going to say that you particular dispensary, you have to shut down, they would just issue the letter, you're not shut down by such and such a date, that you will, whatever they have to do. I don't know, maybe the police will go in at that point, because they did mention that they're working with Toronto Police Service.
Didn't I see something this afternoon, late this afternoon, that said something about 3 days?
There's a 3-day deadline at which they are going to take whatever option they deem appropriate.
Okay.
Which again is funny when they deny the very people they're going to take action against.
One sec, Rick. Can you say that again, because you were really low? Say that again.
Oh, no problem. What I'm saying is they give us 3 days to comply, or they're going to take action.
Yeah.
Yet in those 3 days, they denied us the very opportunity to speak to the what they're doing and stuff like that. So they effectively silenced our voice by continuing with this action.
Wow.
Well,
they really did shut us down last night. And
here's a question I have, because I'll just play devil's advocate very quickly with this one. How many of these dispensaries in Toronto have an business operating license from the City of Toronto?
We tried to get a business operating license as a dispensary, and we were told that we did not need one, that there was no license for us to get. We do, however, have a GST number and pay our taxes, and so to speak. We charge the same HST.
So they'll take the money. They'll take the money you're making, but they won't make allowances to do it right.
Exactly. We believe me. We tried to do every possible legal way, and we were stonewalled with every attempt. The fact that the city would even attempt to try and talk licensing would, I think, be a positive step. Except I think it's a smokescreen. They have no intention of talking licensing. They seem to all be about enforcement at the moment.
But see, that's what Vancouver did, is they set up the bylaws to do the licensing for business licenses for dispensaries.
Yes, but unfortunately, Toronto isn't as advanced as Vancouver is.
Do you think that they're going to come down and back off a little bit, Rick?
Quite honestly, I hope so.
Yeah.
We are prepared for the worst, however.
Yeah.
I would just like to let our members know that come what may, as long as we can, we will remain open, and our doors will be open for our members.
So what happens when 3 days come and they send a storm of inspectors and cops and whoever else out, and they shut all these places down? Then what? What are we going to do then?
Then I suppose I'll be calling my lawyer to bail us out of jail or wherever they.
Well, what about the patients though? What are we supposed to do?
Well, I tell you one thing. I want to step in and add to this, because if they do shut down all the clubs, this is going to be a huge human rights issue, because these clubs service certain communities, specialized communities, that one that I'm part of, and that is the LGBT community. You know, back in the original days, the clubs did exist on patients that had HIV, and they were called clubs too. This is the thing. A club operates differently than a business. What goes on in a club doesn't necessarily go on in a business. Now, I have no idea how they have set things up for themselves now. They are for profit. But, yeah, I mean, they can't shut it down. You would leave thousands of people without medicine and at the mercy of, well, I'd say it, the LPs, because if you don't have a credit card, you're out of luck.
Or the black market. Things will just heat up on the street,
not have
won't they?
anything shut down.
People will just go back to their street dealers in the back alley, and you know, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your uncle.
Yeah, I don't want to go back there.
Will have to deal with the criminal
element. I was
element.
interviewed by Cynthia Mulligan today, and I told her that I don't want to go back to the alley. I'm a 61-year-old, and I don't think I would do very well on the streets.
And just to let you know, at least our center, all of the doctors we come into contact and stuff like that are still confirming with us. They believe in our cause.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. And you know, we do have some people that are sympathetic or empathetic to our cause. A couple of city councilors, actually. One, I can't remember his name, starts Kazanis or something like that. He spoke up, and he actually said that these people deserve a voice. You know, and he was quite upset.
Karaganis, yeah, I saw that.
I did speak with Josh Matlow. He is my city councilor here in Toronto, St. Paul. I spoke with him this morning, and he was there at that meeting. And you know, he told me he has a number of issues with people in his area complaining about people smoking outside and stuff like that. And he's a city councilor. He has to address these issues for his constituents. So, you know, there is an issue with some of these dispensaries not abiding by the rules. But they are sympathetic to the medical patients. They understand that, you know, or he does, that there is a need medicinally. And so we do have people, and see if we can kind of get some communication process going.
There's a lot really good conversations going on in the chat room if anybody wants to join in.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, yes. It really is. Yeah, you want to tell what you want to say what Adam said in the chat room? Marcel?
Adam says that Toronto's never going to back down. They want everyone shut down, and no lawyer's going to be able to stop it because the plan is all ready.
Adam says that.
Well, you know, hopefully, Adam, you know, there are people out there, like the people here at True Compassion Toronto, and I'm sure there's other clubs where, you know, we are standing up for patients' rights. If it comes to the point in time where, you know, we are going to face those consequences, then we will face those consequences. But for the time being, we will continue to fight.
I think we have a right to stand up against an unjust law. And I think we're going to see a lot of the dispensaries perhaps engage in acts of civil disobedience and remain open. But they're doing this out of passion for their patients. I would assume they are. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. I do understand that Vancouver has a 2-tier system that they've implemented. One with a higher license fee and one with
Sandra,
$1,000
can
compassion fund.
address something? Our lines literally have been flooded over the last couple of days with our patients, with our members, very anxious, high anxiety for very sick people, wondering if we're going to be able to stay open, wondering where they're going to be able to access their medicine, wondering what's going to happen. And unfortunately, we can't give them answers aside from the fact that as long as we're able to, we will remain open.
Do they realize? Does John Tory's office realize that we've been underground for a very long time, and the people that are doing this know how to do it? And I'm not talking about the criminal element here. There are people. There are many people in the city of Toronto that are doing this that we don't know about, we don't hear about, because they want to keep it that way, and that's still going. It'll always go. Do they not realize that's patients will just go back underground? I was underground for 10 years before this.
Mm-hmm.
Let
the
me
taxes
tell you,
that we're collecting
if I
and
have
stuff like
to,
that
I have to.
will not be paid. Like when it goes back underground and stuff like that, the salary taxes, the HST that we collect and stuff like that, that's just going to be revenue that the governments are going to lose.
Well, the city loses out on that money.
It's also going to be called, you're going to be called the black market, which is no different than the black market we already have. So they're not going to change anything. We're always going to have a black market as long as it remains controlled and illegal.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the only way to fix that is to take it off the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act, or pull a Uruguay and bottom the price, maximum price down to $1 a gram.
Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Will get rid of the black market.
Honestly, they would quite literally have to lower the hydro rates in order for that to happen.
Or people could start going.
What
or people
about
could
having
start
international, open up international importation?
What was that, Sandra?
Or like Marcel said, people could start growing outdoors.
That would be wonderful.
Because at least outdoors, you're doing more for the environment. So.
Oh yeah. Huh. Yeah, there's just nothing that can equal.
Yeah, you can't beat outdoor growing.
No.
Not when it's done properly. I mean, I'm not talking outdoor guerrilla grows in a ditch somewhere. I'm talking a proper outdoor grow. You can't beat that medicine.
No.
Wow.
And that's
not for price anyway.
No.
And well, that's exactly it. When you can care for yourself out of your pension and need no outside assistance from anybody, that in itself is priceless.
Exactly.
That is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are in the position where they don't have the opportunity to be able to provide themselves with medicine.
Oh, exactly.
Right. So then they should have the opportunity to be able to buy it for $1 a gram.
Yeah.
We would love to be able to supply it for $1 a gram.
Yeah, that would be my goal.
The president of Uruguay did it, so why can't the Prime Minister of Canada do it?
Prime Minister.
He's too busy elbowing people. That's why.
Yeah. Elbowing. And meanwhile, the opposition's too busy playing soccer dive.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah, that was quite a little kerfuffle.
Wasn't
I
it?
think
Stupid. That looked like a
say
bunch
it's
of kids
theater
at
of
the
the
playground.
absurd.
What was that, Rick?
It's theater of the absurd.
The theater of the absurd. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a disgusting display of supposed adults.
It looked like a bunch of kids.
I wasn't too impressed with it, but his father, I think, probably had a couple of temper tantrums.
Fuddled up.
I could hear his mom going, "Oh my God, what are you doing, Justin?"
I know. I was sitting watching it, and somebody else actually today made the good point. I said it looked like a bunch of children in the schoolyard, ganging up, not letting somebody pass by, right?
My post was for that article, fight!
Yeah, it was. It was just a bunch of kids.
Okay, so he used to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So a teacher on the playground at noon hour would do exactly what he did.
Now,
pretty well.
not the teacher. The kids on the playground would do what he did.
Well, that's true.
No, the kids were doing, NDP were doing what the kids would do. He was doing what the teacher would do, is to break through the line of kids playing roadblock and grab the kid who can't get through and say, get on over here. And in the meantime, accidentally brushed against somebody. Oh, wow.
I think they should just settle it in the ring. Mulcair and
he's a boxer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then whoever wins gets Rona Ambrose.
Oh boy, you call that's a win?
Oh, you'd have a few people lining up to take a punch at that one. I mean,
I'm going to have to run the disclaimer twice tonight.
Yeah, I believe you are.
But she totally played up on that. She just, I mean, that just gave the Conservatives more to.
I also read she did apologize as well. As he did.
Sorry?
I read somewhere that she apologized for the
theatrics?
The theatrics, as he did.
Oh, I didn't read that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah,
I still want to punch her. No. I'm just kidding. I would never do that.
I will look for it and see if I can find it. It was the last one I posted, I think.
I think one thing that I'd like to bring us back to was something that you said, Sandra, about how years ago it started as a true club.
They did.
And I think I've had a couple of people mention to me that may be an option to get around the retail outlet type of thing. You know what I mean?
Is actually making them non-profit clubs.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, we are
that's what I understood.
Exactly. So a non-profit club with members that agree to whatever, rules or guidelines or bylaws or whatever exist, and then within that club, what happens in the club is in the club, and it's not like a public retail outlet.
Well,
you've basically
would go by a different rule.
Yeah, you just echoed what COM was. Basically, what happens in COM doesn't happen in other businesses, right? Because they did in the original days rely on a volunteer base, right? People who are passionate about making see it run. I mean, when we started COM, there really wasn't any kind of organization. I didn't start COM. I make that point perfectly clear. I came in 2001, and we developed it to the point that we made standards. And so a club can do that. They can, arrange things the way they are. But essentially, they are now. I haven't been involved with COM in 6 years, so I don't know the internal dynamics of what they do or how they do it. But it is a model for distribution. It absolutely is. And it might be a model for recreational if they decide not to go the LCBO route, sell it in, that's like they would use the Cannabis Control Board of Ontario, but, a lot of people are opposed to that. People really love their dispensaries. I keep saying this, the experience is incredible. I mean, you walk in and you're an older person that knows nothing, and yet that dispensary person can educate you and tell you how to use it, and you can walk out comfortably. Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, they really serve an essential role to...
Yes, I agree, and I think that's the most critical role that the dispensaries need to fill. Is the liaison between the patient and the information that they need to have, because there was such.
I've said this several.
Go ahead.
Safe, dignified access for all our patients. That's what they need.
Exactly
what they want.
We would like to see. I mean, I'm a patient advocate, and I want to see certain clubs treat patients the way that I would do it. I mean, everyone deserves respect. And they deserve to be shown how they can make their lives better. If you teach them proper, what works, does it work better for you for baked goods? What's good for you? Indicas. Oh, you have a lot of body pain. Well, we can recommend many strains for that. I don't think you're going to get that experience inside of a pharmacy. You're going to get a printout, have a good day, ma'am, and that 80-year-old woman's going to walk away and say, oh, well, what do I do with this piece of paper and this stuff? You know,
unless you have a pharmacy that hires people that know about cannabis to be their dispensary.
If they do that, I got to tell you, the one pharmacy I do like, it's actually in the Village, they call it now, the Village, and it's called the Village Pharmacy. It is so unlike a typical pharmacy. They don't wear the white coats. They'll actually talk to you for a little bit, and you can sit down and chat with the pharmacist. If they had more models like that, I think that would be more acceptable to people, not Shoppers Drug Mart.
I've been approached by a pharmacist.
Clinical experience is what you're going to have at Shoppers Drug Mart, because I understand they're vying for or lobbying to be distributors of medical cannabis as well.
Sandra?
Pardon me?
I've been approached by a pharmacist that basically wants to do that if the pharmacists get the rights to be able to dispense cannabis, then he wants to hire me to work for him, to be his dispensary.
And my pharmacist said the same thing to me.
Right. So
Said,
the pharmacists already have an idea how to do this.
I think it'll ever happen because he is of the symbolic gay center of Toronto. So he's looking at, a possibility of doing that. I mean, yes, I'd be a perfect, all I'd have to do is take a pharmacist assistance course and then add cannabinology on top of it. So, yeah, I mean, they would start doing that, but will they do that? That's the point.
I think
quite honestly, guys, pharmacies are part of the problem. They're the ones pushing the opiates. They're the ones pushing the chemicals. They're the ones that are getting people.
They're not the ones that are pushing it, though. The pharmacists aren't pushing it. They're the ones that are dispensing.
They're dispensing it.
Yeah, the doctors are the real crutch because they're the ones that are pushing it.
But
I want to make a point.
The pharmacists, though, they have the power now to write a prescription. I found this out recently because I couldn't get a hold of my doctor. So a pharmacist, if you've got a prescription and you're kind of in between seeing your doctors or whatever, they cut you off or whatever, if you've been getting that medicine for a long time, at least Pharma Plus here in town, they will, give me a front, so to speak. And then when I speak to my doctor, they catch up and yada yada ding dong. But the issue is what's going on now is doctors are actually cutting people off of their prescriptions to force them to come in.
Right? Yeah, and again, it's ultimately all about running that OHIP card through and getting that visit.
That's right. Exactly.
That's a very, very good point. Yeah.
If pharmacists are so interested in dispensing cannabis, I'd like to know when cannabis will get a drug identification number.
That's going to be a challenge.
It won't, but cannabis products may be able
won't
to.
ever.
But cannabis products may be
Well,
able
you know
to.
what I see? What I can foresee in my mind's eye is something like a compilation of all the things that we've had a good discussion about here, but more like an apothecary that is only for cannabinoid therapy, where the people are,
you mean like a
from
dispensary or a compassion center?
No, she's talking about the old apothecaries where they would actually do formulations.
They would do herbal remedies and type thing.
Right, so you would be a compounding formulary for cannabinoids
to sell it.
in the old apothecary kind of style, right?
Yeah.
Where you actually used to get advice from the person who is, at the front line of your healthcare, which is what a dispensary really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I used to be on pharmaceuticals, the pharmacist knew way more about the drugs I was on than my doctor did.
Oh, yes.
They are the front line.
They're pill doctors.
True, the pharmacists.
They're pill doctors.
They know a lot about. I want to make a point about pharmacists that, I think I've been straightforward with my story, being that how I started using cannabis was because I was addicted to multitudes of pharma medications. So for me to go into a pharmacy like Shoppers, it's like the kid in the candy store. You think about that pretty blue pill you used to take. It never goes away. It's I've broken free now for about it's got to be about 15 years now. But I highly doubt we'll ever go back that route. But here, thank you. And cannabis is my only medicine. There you go. But I will say that as far as harm reduction, I would say to have an alcoholic go to, say, something like a LCBO style to pick it up, that wouldn't be right either. Like a person that's using cannabis to reduce or eliminate their alcohol.
What if they have an alcohol issue and they got to go into the place that they have an issue to get their medicine?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's huge. That's huge.
Right.
It's a little bit ridiculous. Anyways, folks, you know what?
Sorry.
I think we all need to take a break and relieve ourselves. And we're going to listen to a song and some news, and then Cultivation Nation is coming up as well later from Ross, and we'll be right back. This is the 420 Radio Show. We are live at LifestyleRadio.ca. Come on and join the conversation. Pop in the chat room and say hello. We'll be right back.
Yeah, because it's Friday night.
So your brother's bound and gagged, and they've chained him to a chair. Won't you please come to Chicago just to sing? In a land that's known as freedom, how can such a thing be fair? Won't you please come to Chicago for the help that we can bring? We can change the world. We are ready.
I'm already into the 420, damn it!
Welcome to the 420 Radio Show, and this is your 420 seconds of news with Chris Backer. Toronto police have begun cracking down on illegal cannabis dispensaries in the city and have already issued notices to property owners across the Greater Toronto area. According to Toronto Police spokesperson Mark Pugash, the notices are being hand-delivered to owners of properties where cannabis dispensaries are operating. The tenants currently running the dispensaries are not being issued notices at the time. Pugash said the notices warn property owners that the police are aware of unlawful activity occurring on the premises, and the activity is affecting the health, safety, and security of the community. Give me a friggin' break. The notice states that police will proceed to monitor the property and will consider taking action if the activity continues. It was not immediately clear what kind of action would be taken. Under the Criminal Code and Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, if a crime is committed in relation to a property, it can result in seizure and forfeiture. According to a police source, Toronto Police Services are working with both sides, the Federal Crown and the City of Toronto bylaw enforcement, to distribute the notices. The city will distribute their own notices in the near future. Pugash would not disclose the number of dispensaries hit with the notices on Wednesday, but said it is likely dozens. And it looks like Illinois is going to be the 21st state to decriminalize cannabis. The Illinois House approved a bill Tuesday that would replace criminal penalties with a civil fine for possession of small amounts of cannabis. The bill will now go to Governor Bruce Rauner for approval. SB 2228, introduced in the state Senate by Senator Heather Steens, would remove criminal penalties for possession of up to 10 grams of cannabis. Instead, possession would be punishable by a fine ranging from $100 to $200. Adults will not face jail time, and the civil offense will be automatically expunged to prevent a permanent criminal record. The bill takes includes amendments proposed by Government Rauner, where he vetoed a similar House bill by Representative Kelly Cassidy in 2015. Under current law, possession of up to 2.5 grams of cannabis is a Class C misdemeanor, punishable by up to 30 days in jail and a fine of up to $1,500. And possession of up to 2.5 to 10 grams is a Class B misdemeanor and punishable up by 6 months in jail and a fine of up to $1,500. Possession of more than 10 grams is a felony. Illinois is long overdue in creating a cannabis policy that treats our residents more fairly and will free law enforcement up for more serious crime, said Representative Cassidy. We should not spend our resources arresting and jailing people just for the possession of a small amount of cannabis. This bill is an important step, and I'm happy to be part of changing this in policy. Thank you very much. And N.J. Weedman Forshawn is back in the news again. We've covered Ed on the show lately, and he's back again, this time facing prosecution for an incident that happened back in November 2015, according to his Facebook page. Ed Forshawn lit up a joint and repeatedly called Trenton City Council members cowards after a resolution that would have backed the legalization of cannabis died on the floor. North Ward Councilman Marge Caldwell Wilson made a motion to vote on a resolution calling on the state to legalize, tax, and regulate cannabis for adults, but nobody seconded it. Caldwell Wilson then moved to table the resolution until the council's next meeting, but that motion was also not seconded. Council members Phyllis Hoyt Ward and Duncan Harrison had already left the meeting at this point. City resident Kevin Moriarty called out council on its inaction. You were elected to take a stance, he said. To sit in silence when a member makes a motion, not even to second and take a vote, is an act of cowardice. Forshawn later lit up a joint, drawing the attention of City Clerk Richard Kashmar, who asked that he be escorted out of the council chambers by security. All of you are cowards, he said as he left. You couldn't even vote. If you had some balls, you would have at least said no, but you're cowards. An internal RCMP study found 322 incidents of corruption within the National Police Force over an 11-year period, including dozens of examples involving organized crime. Improperly giving out police information was the most common type of corrupt behavior, followed by fraud, misuse of police officer status, theft, and interference with the judicial process. The RCMP undertook the study, dubbed Project Sanction, to help identify trends with a view to developing an anti-corruption strategy. It was apparent that many of the incidents identified in the study were a result of poor guidance, lack of adequate supervision, or a combination of life's pressures that accumulated in a desperate decision. The report says the study, covering documented cases from January 1st, 1995 through to December 31st, 2005, was completed in 2007 but only recently released to the Canadian press under the Access to Information Act. A total of 204 regular members were involved in the 322 incidents of corruption, with a study characterizing the nature and gravity of the episodes as relatively moderate. Many cases improperly sharing information involve misuse of confidential details in police databanks, sometimes to family, friends, or known criminals. Fraud cases often included doctored expense claims or abuse of government credit cards. Examples of interference were ticket fixing, perjury, falsifying evidence, or protection of illegal activities. 12 incidents involved organized crime, and another 20 included officers dealing with known criminals. The RCMP can and should be doing more in terms of a risk reduction strategy, the report concluded. In what can only be described as a desperate smear campaign, evidencing the last vestiges of propaganda from a failed drug war, corporate media warped the findings of a study about cannabis-related car crashes to the point of being unrecognizable. On Tuesday, AAA's Safety Foundation released a report concerning cannabis impairment and driving, which proved blood testing drivers for THC holds no scientific validity and should be abandoned. But a second part of the report found that, strictly statistically speaking, car crashes involving drivers who had consumed cannabis were on the rise. In fact, the number of people involved in fatal crashes who tested positive for cannabis did rise, a statistical doubling. But several things should have been also reported by mainstream press were flatly ignored. First, and of no small importance, cannabis isn't even close to the leading cause of fatal crashes. In fact, when it comes to deadly accidents where the drivers tested positive for cannabis, most had also consumed alcohol or other drugs. According to Washington Traffic Safety Commission, 592 drivers involved in fatal crashes in 2013, 38 tested positive for cannabis. In the following year, 619 deadly crashes, the number tested positive for cannabis had jumped to 75. However, as Stacey Hoff, research director for WTSC, explained, most of these drivers, these 75 drivers, also had alcohol or other drugs in their system. Over a 5-year period, just 1.8% of fatal crashers involved drivers who tested positive only for cannabis. So in our study, we looked at all 5 years of data from 2010 to 2014, Hoff continued, and there were never 3,000 drivers involved in these fatal crashes during that same time period. Only 56 of them had THC and only THC, nothing else. WTSC is indeed concerned about drivers who consume cannabis when they also consume alcohol. So though a number of fatal cannabis-involved deadly accidents did indeed double the number, represents a tiny proportion of the total, and most of those drivers had consumed other substances. There's still a lot of work to do to figure out the impact of cannabis as a substance alone, Hoff added, but what I can say is that the combo of alcohol and cannabis is a scary concept that we are seeing. It's where our largest concern lays right now. But if you rely on corporate media for information about the same report, your perception of cannabis-related traffic fatalities would be entirely different. CBS's News National report on the same information proves how the misrepresentation of data can irresponsibly warp facts to bordering on outright misinformation. Though the headline could easily be redeemed through accurate information, the CBS article immediately capitalizes on people's worst fears by beginning with an anecdotal account of a fatal accident involving a cannabis-impaired driver. At the time when the policymakers and the American public considered ending cannabis prohibition, a massively failed drug policy whose biggest benefactor has arguably been the for-profit prison industry, such feckless reporting reduces the opportunity for worthy debate on the subject. CBS not only failed to mention how statistically minuscule the doubling of cannabis-related fatal crashes actually was, it also inexplicably and inexcusably left out that most of the drivers had consumed other substances. Worst of all, CBS News article ends with a factual statement, more than a dozen states are considering legalizing marijuana, implying to readers, look out, if you don't stop this legalization, wantonly reckless weed-smoking drivers will be coming to your city. Of course, this simply isn't the case, and the study and the article we're supposedly reporting about proves that. But CBS News' audience would never know that if they were relying on the single source. And that's what makes propaganda so effective. Its ability to distort facts and stoke baseless fear for others' ends. Fortunately, such capricious and questionable media tactics are being exposed as more people turn to independent sources for good information and otherwise obscured from public discussion. This has been your news. This has been Chris Backer. Peace, love, and hip and shit.
And we are back, and I did it again. Sorry, Marcel.
You do it all the time.
Well, you know, by this point in the show, I'm like, you know, just pushing buttons here, having fun.
I suppose.
We are still chatting with Rick and Rick Vrecic and Sandra Petite.
We'll just go with Rick.
And I just want to recap what we're talking about today. We're spending the evening talking about the plight of Toronto dispensaries. And I even looked up the meaning of that word, and I think it fits very well for what's going on down there right now.
Mm-hmm. What, dispensary or plate?
Plate.
Okay.
Plight of dispensaries. It's a difficult time for them. I can only imagine that they're probably not really sleeping all that well right now because there's so much uncertainty. But they've decided that they're going to start issuing letters.
Okay, but here, you guys live in Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Both of you?
I do, yeah.
All right, and Rick works in Toronto, I guess.
I work in Toronto and commuted to have the commute from home.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry for your commute.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, sorry
That's
for the
okay.
loss
It's only time.
of hours traveling. In Toronto, honestly, how many dispensaries do you think the city of Toronto needs versus how many have popped up over the last month or two?
One on every fucking corner.
How many people are in the
Yeah, how many
GTA?
dispensaries do you think the city of Toronto actually needs?
Do we need as many as the corner store? Do we
How
need as
many
many?
Starbucks do you think we need?
Do we need as many as Timmy's
How many drugstores? Yeah.
or drugstores?
It's a free market. As long as it survives, it should be allowed to be.
Do you have 140 drugstores in Toronto?
I would say we have well over 1,000.
Probably, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
a
suppose
good
of different
point.
kinds of drugstores, yeah.
Yeah. But what it is, and this is what Councillor Matlow touched on, is that they don't know. The people in the community, they're not involved in our world at all, and they don't know. All of a sudden they see this big, bold green leaf in their neighborhood, and right away all the programming over the years comes through. Oh, crime, and, it's just... Yeah, we need to make it more normalized. I like what Rick does. His logo actually is indicative of something green, but it implies a hand, and it's not so obvious as the big bold green leaf in the window. So that's a little bit more low-key approach to blending in your neighborhood. I think that's wonderful.
We tried to model our waiting room on a doctor's office or a dentist office.
Yeah.
It's the only
more of a
room that we have
professional.
visible from the street, and if you look in, it looks like any doctor's office, any dentist office, and stuff like that. So it's basically, move along, there's nothing to see here.
Now, I will say, like I said earlier in the program, that there's room for many, Rick's nonprofit, there's room for many nonprofit models. For example, Care Center up on Bloor Street in Ossington, they still have security safeguards in place. They have an educational resource center at the front of their location, and people can come in and ask questions, but they don't get access until they're actually approved. So, and they do have a leaf in their logo, but you know what? It fits into the area. The neighbors, from what I understand, they don't seem to be too upset about it, and I don't know about.
Have you had any complaints yet, Rick, at all?
We haven't had any complaints. In fact, we've had quite a bit more of our neighbors lauding our activities and stuff like that. We've improved the outward appearance of a long derelict building. We've had a community cleanup where we've managed to take off over 30 syringes, about 13 crack pipes. I believe it was 13 bags of garbage. So we're making a positive impact. There's a back alley behind our center. We've lit it up. We've had lots of our neighbors say, thank you so much. You've made the area safer. Now I can just walk there to Timmy's. I don't have to worry about being accosted by anybody. So, in fact, our feedback from our neighborhood and the area has been quite positive.
That's awesome. I'm actually
That's excellent.
I'm actually looking forward to coming in and checking it out and seeing what you guys do.
We're looking forward to seeing you guys.
Yeah, you know what? I'm down next weekend actually for Lyft, but it's going to be a busy weekend, so I'm sure that I'll be running into a lot of people that say you need to come in somewhere.
That's quite true. And hopefully we'll all be open as well.
Well, there you go. I hope, I really want to, we've just lost Sandra again, but she'll be back. I really want to go down to the city once all of this is going, chilled out a bit, and do a tour and go into the different places and actually, because, I'm a patient, and I've only been into one. In fact, Sandra did my intake at COM, many years ago. So that's how I met Sandra. So I'm looking forward to seeing something different. I've only seen other dispensaries, compassion clubs on the news, in videos, things like that. I'm concerned, but I can see the need for some regulation.
As can we all, like, you know.
One of the
there's
things that we talked with Carrie Jang, right?
Jang.
Yeah. One of the things we talked with Carrie Jang about was the fact that he understands the need as far as patients go. But he's also seeing, as he called it, out in Vancouver, the wild, wild west. And
Hi. Sorry, I'm back.
That's fine. It's really, I mean, I joke about it, and I've been joking about it for years, that I don't know what bandana I'm supposed to wear, you know, blue, red, green, whatever. I don't know where I am supposed to support anymore because this faction is doing this and that faction or the group is doing that, and everybody's going against each other. But the fact of the matter is there's some regulations coming along in Canada. In order for Canada to jump that hurdle and go into the legalization market, do you think that, and this is for both of you guys and for my guys here, do you think that there's going to be compromise, or do you think that they're going to come in and strong-arm everybody, shut them down, and then on the same token, with patients, make them have to go through the hoops again to get their license once they do put a new thing in place?
Can I throw out my wild card?
Yes, you can.
I'd like to throw out that wild card.
Sure.
Here's the wild card. The wild card is August 24th.
Exactly.
That is the big wild card.
Yeah. And I've been studying regulatory framework and structure for the last couple of years on other substances. I've been studying how laws are passed, how regulation is worded. I've actually created my own cannabis legislation. But here's, you know, if I can take my crystal ball out, and I know everybody's pulling stuff out of their ass these days and throwing it through their crystal ball. But based on an educated guess, and it's not really a guess, it's a prediction, and you can hold me to it. Come next year, but this is the way it's going to go down. There is going to be two different systems. There's going to be medicinal and there's going to be recreational, and medicinal is going to be regulated and put forth by the federal government through Health Canada, and it's going to allow for different types of uses for medicinal cannabis and different types of distribution, and one of those I'm hoping is going to be the Compassion Club type of model. And we hear Tory has delayed till June 27th, and I think there's more behind it than just a simple delay tactic. I think that there are discussions taking place behind the scenes right now amongst government, between the federal especially and municipal right now, but the one wild card that is not being talked about right now is the provincial wild card. So, okay, we got the federal government legislating through Health Canada what's going to happen with medicinal cannabis, and I'm thinking there's going to be compassion clubs allowed for that. In 2017, when the recreational legislation comes forward, that's also going to be done by the federal government, but when it comes down to distribution and how that's going to be handled, it's going to be the provincial governments. Each one of them is going to decide how recreational cannabis is distributed. And this is where we're going to get into this patchwork of regulation and distribution from one province to the next, just like we have with alcohol. In fact, alcohol, I read an article just the other day about how the wine model and the Vintners Quality Act is being looked at as a model for distribution on the recreational basis, and it's probably a good model, but it's also going to be different for each province. Like, you can buy beer in the corner store in Quebec, but in Ontario, they just brought some grocery stores online, but you can't buy it in the corner stores here. So it's going to be the same kind of thing, and I think probably in British Columbia they're going to have recreational dispensaries. I'm not so sure we're going to have them here in Ontario, and I just think it's because that we have a provincial government that is in the process of trying to sell our liquor control board, and to have cannabis in a liquor control board would make that so much more attractive to sell. That I think it's just a big.
Yes. Well, maybe that's why they made the move to sell beer and wine in the grocery store.
Yes, it's like there's a master plan, and as far as the consultations go, I think that the Liberals, the Liberal government is talking with Kerry Jang. They're talking with John Tory. John Tory's talking to Kerry Jang. John Tory's talking to the Liberal government. They're all talking right now, and things are happening, and I think that's partly why there's been a delay. I also saw something and read an article about the Toronto Board of Health is coming out on May 30th. They're having a meeting where they're going to present their thoughts on regulation of compassion clubs and dispensaries in Toronto. So I think that may have been part of it too. I don't know if you guys have heard about all of this also.
I have heard a little bit about it, and quite frankly, Sandra, it seems rather unfortunate to me because from the little I've gleaned on what the Toronto Public Health is talking about, is it seems like they're playing upon a lot of the old fears and misrepresentations that have
exactly
proven
that's
false.
Exactly what they're doing. Yeah, and they're the old driving while high thing, and keeping away from youth so they don't all get schizophrenia, and it's just like all these myths that I saw in the article that I read that they're bringing forward. I think it's time. It's time for them to stop using
politics
that
always
propaganda.
does that. What about the children?
Politics
they
is
always
based on
use that
fear.
argument.
Oh yeah,
What
it's
about
a
the children?
wasted argument.
If you educate
What about the children that need cannabis?
Yeah, what about those
They don't
kids?
care about them. They'd rather them continue to suffer from epilepsy, continue to be treated with highly addictive, highly psychotropic drugs.
You got it.
Yeah.
And I think I brought this up the last time. Now we're talking about children. That one of our first speakers with Women Grow was Mandy McKnight and her son Liam. What would that poor child do? Going from 100 seizures a day to 0. It is a medicine. It needs to be made available.
Excuse me.
To any
do you
person
think
that a doctor says it?
Do you think that the mayor's office is even considering what happens to a 5-year-old child with epilepsy who has been using cannabis since they were 3?
I doubt
it. And then they just take it away.
I don't think they know a 5-year-old.
Well, we need to tell them that.
No.
We need to tell them.
We are trying. We have tried repeatedly to set up a meeting with the mayor to have him come tour our facilities to engage in a dialogue. We have been repeatedly rebuffed up until this point. We've had all the polite responses, with the schedule of permits and all of that. But quite frankly, if he's seriously concerned and stuff like that, he needs to engage with the dialogue with the very people they're trying to drive out of the business.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just getting a message here through Messenger about
to put it on hold. And that's what he would use as his excuse.
Sorry?
Is it an important message that you want to talk about, Sandra?
Yeah, something just came in through my messenger. Oh, it's a complete list of all the dispensaries that have been receiving letters. It's huge. Yeah, so it's continuing even on now. So, as you were saying about medicine with children, what are they going to do about that? I mean, they wanted to cap the age, did they not? Hello?
They wanted what?
Well, we don't know because we don't know what they're going to come out with new regulations.
How can you cap an age for a sick child?
They can't do that.
Yeah.
Because, again, it goes back to the doctor and what the doctor prescribes.
And what the doctor's comfortable with.
If prescribe the child cannabis, then the child's going to get cannabis. And a good example is Haley getting an MMAR.
If a child under the age of 19 needs medicinal cannabis, their parent has to come in and purchase that cannabis for them. We don't allow the child under the age of 19 to purchase their cannabis.
Yes, and in the case of Health Canada saying that, like, say, for example, even when I was working with the dispensary, we had a person a mother contacted us, and my son has been approved by Health Canada, but he's very young and, can improve. But, well, we thought about it. We're not going to argue with Health Canada. If they say he's legal, he's legal. So, but again, I think the mother has to be involved. You're right, Rick. That I think a caregiver is assigned to that patient, so the caregiver can and pick up the medicine for that patient. Yeah, that's how we did it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, any child that needs cannabis is going to have a parent being there anyways.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure the parent would want to be the one going to get the medicine and not the kid, especially if the kid is under 10 or 11.
Well, we don't want to send a 5-year-old into a dispensary. I just don't think the image would be very cool.
They can have one of those signs where you must be this tall to enter this dispensary.
So what?
Actually, that's a great idea, except that I'm sure that we would have.
You must be this high to get in.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well,
so what's the drinking age in Ontario?
I believe it's 19.
Yes.
19 is the drinking age?
Yeah.
But they also
so why do they
have Marcel, they have a sign up
cannabis?
in the liquor stores and beer stores and for cigarettes now in Ontario, and it says, if you look younger than 25, please be ready to present your ID. So it's really 25. Right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, and 25. Okay, now that's that age that it's very critical, or they suspect, I guess, in medical, like when you have SSRIs or antidepressants or other chemical narcotics and other things that are prescribed to young adolescents, shall we say. 25 is like the cutoff age. Like the things that are supposed to be contraindicated for adolescents under the age of 25 would be like antidepressants and things like that can give you suicidal ideation rather than addressing your depression. And apparently there is an actual metaphysical change that happens in maturity that around the age of 25 that does change the effect of chemical things like Ritalin. Okay, so you give a child Ritalin, it acts one way, and then in an adult it's like having speed.
Yeah, when you don't have ADHD versus when you do have ADHD, there is a sizable difference there
in maturity and physiological changes.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't allowed to go through that on my own. I was on Ritalin from 5 till I was 16, so I have no idea.
I'm guessing that's where they got that 25-year-old thing from, though.
Okay.
But the thing with that is that everybody seems so concerned with teen cannabis use and stuff like that. But, quite frankly, nobody seems concerned with the fact that they're prescribing kids younger than teens and stuff like that highly psychotropic drugs, like Ritalin, like all kinds of other things, which I'm sure has a way greater effect on their developing minds and body than cannabis ever will. And that never
they
seems
actually
to be
are
talked
marketing to kids now. I mean, they
yes.
I read an article where they actually, if they have a drug, right, then they start looking for other ways that they can use it or market it for something else. Like, I can't. It's a long time since I've read that article. But
here's one for you. Amitriptyline is a perfect example. Amitriptyline was actually designed in the 1970s as an antidepressant, and it didn't work as an antidepressant.
Yes,
and you will find that prescribed. Right, so now they prescribe it for everything. Anything.
Everything.
They prescribed it to my kid. Yeah. Yep. Yep, they
horrible
prescribed
drug.
it to me to sleep. Somebody else for fibromyalgia. They prescribed it to my my grandson's mother when she was 18 years old for a migraine headache. They prescribed it to my son for his anxiety, his stomach problems due to anxiety. They prescribed, yeah, it's like
cannabis.
Neuropathic.
Do they have like? I think they must have like a stockpile of it from the 70s, and they're just trying to give it to anybody for anything that'll pay for it.
Well, that's it.
Like.
They don't want to lose their investment or their production. I mean, sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Okay, let's think of a creative way to use it.
Yeah.
Cannabis, there is only one way to use it. You know. Yeah, and it just treats a multitude of conditions. I mean.
There's actually 100 different ways to use cannabis. You know, some people medicate through edibles. Some people medicate through tinctures. There's candies. There's a whole slew of factions in different ways. And you know, quite frankly, we're developing new ways. We're having some high success with some coconut oil, medicated coconut oil pills that we're trying.
I enjoy root beer tincture myself.
Root beer tincture is quite nice.
No, it's nice. It's yummy.
Yeah, and some of us will use all of the above, right?
Yep. I use all of the above, man. If I can get it any way in me, I will take it.
I'm the same way.
You know, there's topical creams too that don't actually get you high. And as someone with a neuropathic condition, Deb and her friends have been formulating these topical infused creams that I've been using on my feet.
Yep.
And I got to tell you that it has worked better than anything that any doctor has ever prescribed for me. And trust me, the list of things that have been prescribed to me, including amitriptyline, is as long as your arm. Lyrica is another one. Lyrica is another one that was invented to do something, and it didn't work. So they decided to start throwing at it a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, Butrin as well is like that.
May I ask you,
and Sesamet is like that as well.
What is
Nabalone?
There's a load of crap.
Yeah, well, I've been taking that load of crap, that Sesamet load of crap for the last 4 years.
It is it's awful.
Yeah.
But at least it is covered under drug plan.
Exactly. And when I don't have cannabis, I have that, and it does work when I don't have. If I have nothing, I'll take my Sesamet, and at least I can walk.
I'm not flagging you or anything like that, but again, it's a way, you know, where the pharmaceutical companies are figuring out a way to make money off of the backs of sick people.
Well, you know, it's like metformin. Having type 2 diabetes, I have to take metformin every day. If I don't, I'm going to have to take a needle every day. So, I mean, but still, I still have to take that, you know, so.
Take more cannabis.
If I had, and if I had, I would be happily able to do that, you know, but I don't have that.
Unfortunately, you know, because cannabis isn't covered underneath drug plans, because it isn't covered when people are on ODSP or people under prescription plans and stuff like that. Affordability is a huge issue.
And you know what,
you know, a lot of the times it is a choice for our members, you know, having their medicine and eating, or, you know, it's hard choices and hard sacrifices have to be made. And people feel this strongly about it that they're willing to sacrifice and they're willing to pay to make themselves better.
I want to spend the last bit of the show talking about that. So we're going to take another quick break because there's a young man there that has put a little grow thingy for us this week together. And when we come back, I want to talk exactly about that. So I'll let you resume when we come back. Okay, Rick?
Awesome.
All right, this is 420 Radio Show. Still around for another half an hour or so. Come on in the chat room. Let's talk. We'll be right back. In the chat room.
Welcome to Cultivation Nation, brought to you by your urban horticultural experts at BMA Hydroponics and our good friends at Lifestyle Radio. This is our third episode on Lifestyle Radio, offering valuable information, tips, and tricks on cannabis cultivation. Last time we talked about seed germination and propagation. This time we're going to talk about food-grade nutrients. One of the questions we often get is, what is the difference between 1-part, 2-part, and 3-part nutrients? Well, all food-grade based nutrients contain the same 6 basic elements: calcium nitrate, potassium sulfate, potassium nitrate, monopotassium phosphate, magnesium sulfate, and the trace elements. With the majority of growers using soilless mixes like ProMix or Sunshine Mix No. 4, I'm going to focus on the most popular food-grade nutrients used for growing in these mediums. So what is the difference between 1-part, 2-part, and 3-part nutrients? Let's start with the most commonly used 2-part concentrate. All base nutrients contain the same 6 basic elements that I previously mentioned, but due to chemical reactions at the molecular level, they usually can't all be put into one bottle due to some of the elements' tendency to bind with others, causing them to become impossible for the plant to absorb. Separating the elements into 2 parts, usually identified as A and B, prevents this molecular binding and mixes the elements in different ratios for the grow cycle or bloom cycle. That gives the plant what it needs when it needs it. 2-part nutrients are mixed in water using equal amounts of each part. There are many brands of 2-part nutrients on the market, ranging from the inexpensive brands like Dutch Nutrient Formula to the more expensive but higher quality brands like Canna Substra. Next, let's talk about the 3-part base nutrients. So you might ask, why 3 parts? Nutrient needs change during the plant's growth cycles. 3-part nutrients allow you to customize the ratios of each part to suit the specific needs of the plant during the grow and bloom stages. Using different combinations of the 3 parts, known as grow, bloom, and micro, fills the need of the plant at each stage of its life cycle. Cannabis consumes more nitrogen in the vegetative stage and more phosphorus, potassium, and magnesium as it flowers. The grow component adds nitrogen and potassium, which stimulates structural and foliar growth. The bloom component provides the necessary phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, and sulfur needed for bud development. And finally, the micro component is the foundation or building block, providing nitrogen, calcium, and the trace elements. There are several brands available, but if you want the best, use General Hydroponics Flora Series. GH has a great reputation and has been around for 25 years. Finally, let's talk about the 1-part base nutrients. Concentrating all 6 elements into one bottle is not easy. Although it is easily achieved with organic-based nutrients, only one brand has done it well in a food-grade formula, and that is Canna. Canna Terra Vega and Terra Grow are a complete 1-part nutrient for plants in or outdoors. It is easy to use, and both are suitable for growing in pots or in open soil outdoors. Finally, we can't finish without mentioning how important the pH level of your water is. Without proper pH, your plant can't absorb the food that you feed it. Most city and well water is around 7 or 8, and your plants need a pH of about 6.2 in peat-based mediums like ProMix and around 5.7 for hydroponics to efficiently absorb that food. So grab a pH drop testing kit or a digital pH pen and some phosphoric acid and get the pH level down where the plant wants it to be. Remember to add your nutrients first before you adjust and test your pH level. Good day and good growing from your friends at BMA Hydroponics. If you have any questions about this or any other episode of Cultivation Nation, please submit them to our friends at Lifestyle Radio, the 420 Radio Show, Pace Radio Show, or contact us through our website or Facebook page. We can be found online at bmahydroponics.com or at facebook.com/bmahydro.
The only way to go.
Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were.
at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. Oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. I want look in my eyes and you can tell that's true. Lullabies, look in your eyes, run around the same old town. Doesn't mean that much to me, to mean that much to you. I've been first and last, look at how the time goes past, but I'm all alone at last, rolling home to you. Oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through.
The National Task Force on Medicinal Cannabis is a group of not-for-profit organizations dedicated to influencing government policy with factual evidence. Our mission is to ensure that a constitutional medical program is developed that will address the concerns of all Canadians that require therapeutic cannabis. The task force is looking for dedicated people who are willing to contribute to our cause. We have formed this task force to foster a unified approach and focus on lobbying the federal government and Health Canada. We represent the combined expertise of thousands of patients with more than a decade of experience. As a task force participant, you, your business, or your group will have an opportunity to show that you care and offer your unique skills to promote the cause. If you would like to get involved, go to medcanataskforce.org. That's medcanataskforce.org and use the Contact Us link to get started. Help us help you.
Close the show out. Come back right now and say hi. This is the 420 Radio Show. We're back. We're gonna.
And there's no echo because he did it right.
Shut up, Marcel.
Echo.
I mean, that was a good thing.
So
I was
just
making fun of you.
I've just posted. I'm just kidding too. I've just posted a list of dispensaries that are closed and open. This list, I'm assuming that this list will be updated on a regular basis.
It looks like it will be.
Everything that we're told from this organization, yes.
Okay.
They continually update the list.
All right. So I've posted that list on our Tweety, which will go to our Facebooky and wherever else. And I will also include this link in the post for the show when we're done.
See, now if I was mean, I would say, well, how exactly does that work? Does that be posted Tweety and post to Facebook?
It just happens.
The magic happens, right?
To the masses.
It just goes. I push a button and everything goes. Whoa.
Goes on the interweb.
Well, that's going to be the end of society, right? When we push the button and nothing happens.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah, which has started 20 years ago.
So on that note,
on that nice and cheery note,
I would like Rick, if you don't mind, please tell everybody who you are, why you're here, and where they can find you.
I'm Rick Vrecic. I'm one of the co-owners of True Compassion Toronto. You can find us at truecompassiontoronto.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Or you can even give us a call. We're at 647-977-1995. And basically, we're here to help patients serve patients. We are a compassion center. We're not for profit. We're run. Every one of our volunteers is an actual confirmed patient. So we are all about patient advocacy and patient rights, and just making sure that our members and our patients will continue to receive medicine in these trying times. So for as long as we are able to, and it's looking a little bleak out there for us right now, so we could use your support. All of our members, all of the radio listeners and stuff like that, it's all of those people in Toronto. If you can write, email the mayor, your councillor, even the municipal licensing board, write them all. Let them know how dispensaries and compassion centers improve your life, how you need us. Help us, help you.
Yeah.
And tell them to go visit Rick's.
We would love to visit you, and once we confirm that you actually have a ailment that benefits from cannabis use, we would love to see
sending out the information to all of these nice elected officials. Tell them to go visit you, the elected officials.
Quite honestly, we have. We've actually. There's been an article in the Toronto Sun about us inviting the mayor to come visit our center.
I saw that actually. I did. I saw it. It does exist.
I hope he takes you up on it.
It is a real thing.
It is the real Toronto Star or Sun. Sorry.
It was the Toronto Sun, and it was quite positive, actually. I was really impressed.
Well, that's good. That's good. Sandra, and thank you very much for being a part of this tonight, Rick. Sandra, please take a few minutes and...
guys, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for having me on the air tonight and allowing me to voice my opinions and, just putting up with myself.
You're very welcome, and you're welcome anytime, Rick.
Yep, you
Thanks
and your Uber driver.
Yep, you got it. We didn't even talk to the Uber driver this time.
No, we
didn't.
You
didn't. You guys asked me the last time. I was waiting for you guys, but you didn't. We didn't get the intro this time.
Sandra, please enlighten us and your listeners, or our listeners, and you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, my name's Sandra Petite, and I'm a patient advocate. And there's basically what I still continue to do is try to connect patients, educate patients. I do it all the time. I mean, it doesn't matter where I go. I'm on the subway, or I went for a sleep study the other night, and I told the technician all about what I do and everything. Now
I do that
she's
too.
really, really interested. So patient advocate involves so many things, helping people get connected to a dispensary, such as Rick's or someone like the Care Center or the Queens of Cannabis. Like, these are places that I like, and I think the people that deal with me would be comfortable with that as well. And also, too, I can educate them how they could actually proceed through to go to a licensed producer. It's a pretty simple procedure. All the information is on Health Canada's website. So, yeah, and I've been involved in the cannabis community since 2001 when I moved back to Toronto from Kitchener-Waterloo, and I'm just so happy to be part of such a wonderful community of loving, caring people that, especially, have been there to help me out, and I want to give a shout out to those individuals that have been there for me. I really appreciate that. And so I will continue the fight for dispensaries. I will stay in the loop constantly with City Hall and how the process there is evolving, and we'll try to keep people posted on Facebook. I made my Facebook page public, so anybody can pretty much ask to be my friend and see whatever I post.
You can only have 5,000 of them, though.
Yeah, then it has to be a fan page.
Then they follow.
I'll quite get there.
No, but you can allow people to follow you and not have to add everybody. That's what I've started doing.
Apparently you can do that.
Yeah.
I checked it out, and if you switch to everybody, so now everyone can follow me. There's a follow button that appears on my site. So maybe I'll get followers. You never know. You never know. But but that extends my reach by doing that, and it actually helps me, like if people can view my page without actually being my friend, then they can get educated as to what's going on in the current cannabis scene.
There you
go. So yeah, I do a lot of social media stuff as well.
That's good. That's good. Well, Sandra, you know what? 5-6 years ago, I met you. You were very informative. You helped me get through the process at COM.
Aww,
and I appreciated it. And I still appreciate what you guys are both doing, both you and Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Is there anything that you guys, my guys here, Lori and all you other people that I can't remember now because I'm looking at a totally different screen and I can't remember who's here.
Who am I talking to?
Who am I talking to? Marcel and Ross and.
There's the list.
Is there?
I just wanted to thank you both. I just wanted to thank you both for joining us tonight, and look forward to hearing back from you, Sandra, as things progress, and maybe we can touch base once a month or so and keep up on what's going on in Toronto going on to August.
I would love to do that, to report, let you guys know what's going on here in Toronto.
That would be awesome.
Like Rick said, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my voice and my concerns, and I really appreciate the chance to be on the show.
Well, we appreciate you as well. Marcel, is there anything that you wanted to close out with?
No, other than just to thank them both. It was great having them both on.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris.
Yes. Go ahead.
You guys got any meetings coming up or anything?
Well, I mean, we got the meeting. Our meetings are the second Saturday of every month, and right now we're just getting everything prepped for
Harvest Fest, Cannabis Day,
Cannabis Day celebration. These are the next ones we got to get organized for. So
cool. And what about you, Ross? What do you got to say?
What have I got to say? I'm just waiting for August 24th. I have my own dreams and desires for the small town of Belleville, ones which, unlike Toronto, if I tried to carry out today, I would definitely be in the slammer, like in 2 seconds flat. So I have met with the city of Belleville, and we have their support. Should the regulations go that way, we will be opening a Compassion Club in Belleville, and that's something that I very much look forward to. And I'm really looking forward to August 24th because I can finally put all of this bullshit from the MMPR and all of our Section 7 charter violations behind me, and hopefully we can all do that and move on and start anew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here.
And I start building my factory.
Yeah, then Marcel starts building his factory. And
I've got an appointment with the local chief of police in a week and a half.
Ooh.
To go and discuss what might be happening in our city going forward from August.
Wow.
So yeah.
Really? We should maybe talk about doing that like interview style. Maybe. Yeah.
With the chief of police?
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. He might be on the show. Maybe.
You never know. You see, I approached him a while back, years ago actually, and he and the OPP commander were looking forward to bringing their task forces, their drug squad, together for what they jokingly and pun intended were calling joint information sessions. And then what happened was the MMPR sort of started and then didn't, and then the injunction happened, and then everything was so confused. I wasn't really sure what the hell to tell them. So, yeah, we're starting up the conversations again now. So we're looking forward to that and see what happens.
So as always, you can find us here Fridays 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Next week we won't be doing a show because I'm off to lift. So if you want to grab my arm, if I have a mic in it, and say something, we will be live down there with Al Graham. And I think that Kim Cooper will be there and Kelly will be there with me. And we're going to interview a lot of people. And we will be live from about noon on from Lift Expo in Toronto
Saturday.
Next Saturday. Yeah, just the Saturday, though.
Okay.
So my bird that I've been talking about for the last few weeks that sits there and stares at me is now staring at me in my window.
still?
I'm not paranoid, and I tell people when they're here, I'm like, look, there's the frickin' bird. He's back. And he's sitting there.
He just likes your reflection,
He just cocked his head at me. He knows I'm talking about him. On that note, this is the 420 Radio Show. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Sandra. I look forward to hearing back from you in the future. We're out of here.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Not a problem.
Good night, everyone.
We got one more song from Ross. Some David Bowie Heroes, just to pay some tribute. We'll be back next week. Goodbye. Or no, we won't be. Bye-bye. Now I'm leaving now.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye
Bye-bye now.
Just for one day, we can be heroes. Just for one day, and you can be me, and I'll drink all the time. 'Cause we're lovers, and that is a fact.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 Radio Show. On Lifestyle Radio.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like